Welcome to another session, short session, which we're going to focus on the next 20 minutes, maybe to start your day, or maybe this is something that you want just to give you a little bit of energy to boost you. So we're thinking about an energy flow. This session will be ideal to follow on if you did the warming up session earlier on, so you could tag these two together. So with that in mind, assuming that you've just done a little bit maybe with your body before we've come into this class, and that might just be a couple of breath work exercises, it might be a vinyasa, perhaps you want to just do a sun salutation, just as a gentle warm-up so that we're ready to start moving. So come into the centre of your mat. You can come to any seated pose, maybe cross-legged or Sukhasana. We're going to take the hands each side and make cupcakes with those hands. Roll the shoulders back and send your chest forwards, chin reaching up. So as we do this, we're making an arch with our spine, thinking about sending that chest forwards. Breathe in, and as you exhale, imagine somebody was drawing your belly button backwards and your shoulders go forwards. So inhale, roll and bring that chest through the shoulders. Exhale, draw your belly button back and curve the spine. So almost like a cat-cow motion, but just as we're seated here. And you can use your breath to start to connect to this movement. Using your exhale when the belly button is drawn back. Good, and then when you're ready, let's come back to centre. Draw the head, neck and spine up lovely and tall. Bring your hands around, make your way into all fours. And we're going to tuck all 10 toes, so get a nice strong tuck of all toes, so you can catch our little toes as well at the side. Press the hands into the mat, bring the knees off the mat, so we've got that hover, drawing the belly button up to the spine, and then start to extend through your arms as you lift your hips, dropping into downward facing dog. If you want to spend a breath or two just pedaling through the legs, that might feel good. Otherwise, if you're a little bit warmer, perhaps you want to extend both legs and just start to spend time settling into downward facing dog. So wherever we are, just check in with how we're feeling. See if we can feel the heels ever so slightly draw away from each other. Just noticing if perhaps that ever so slightly deepens your pose, and draw those middle fingers ever so slightly towards the front of the mat. So we are dialing your arms in and your heels out. We're going to raise the left leg into your three-legged dog, really sending the heel away. So a nice active foot. Bend the knee, draw it into the chest and hold it here. Full breath. And then we're going to lower that front knee behind the wrist and start to wiggle back your back leg. So we're making our way into pigeon pose. So take time, perhaps you want to find a cushion or something to place underneath that front thigh. Keeping the hands and the arms extended, so perhaps coming onto the fingertips, reaching the chest up and forwards. And then as you exhale, start to allow the body weight to come down. So what we're doing here is taking a lot of that upper body weight onto the hands and the shoulders, the upper body is supporting it with the arms, before we use the exhale to allow it to drop down and give a little bit more weight into the stretch. So take your time here. Slowly, and you will know what feels good for your body. Start to allow more weight to come into the hips, and as you do so, we can slowly come forwards. So that might mean coming onto the elbows, and use your blocks here if that feels good. Use your breath. So you may be lifting on the inhale, slowly drawing that chest down on the exhale. Now start to draw back that front hip as the back hip gently draws forwards. If you want to deepen the pose, you can use your back toes to slightly draw back the back knee. So your leg that's extended wants to be dialed exactly down onto the mat so that your knee is facing down. But you can creep it back to get a slightly deeper pose. And if you want to take the chest all the way down now, if that feels good, then you can go there. So we're not staying here for too long. You might want to finish the breath you're on before slowly creeping back to extend the arms, take the chest high, and this time we're keeping that front hip down as we extend through the arms, lift that chest. And if you want to do this, this is an optional, you can place your front hand down onto the mat and start to bend the back knee, catching it with the same hand as the foot. So just gently drawing that heel in towards the glute. So only if this feels good on your knee, it's quite a strong stretch for the knee, you may want a little bit of padding underneath that, just exploring how this feels. So this is our journey towards mermaid pose. Just exploring the knee and the hip. Maybe just holding for a moment or two if it feels okay. And before we gently release, place the fingertips each side of the mat, and again coming onto the fingertips to lift the chest first, and then place the whole hand onto the mat. So we're really spreading those hands. We're going to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, lift the back leg so your hips are high, and make your way all the way into three-legged dog. So a really big transition. And exhale to bring the leg down, bending both knees as you lift the hips and send the chest down towards the thighs. So we're coming into a nice release of the upper back whilst relaxing those thighs a little. Good. Slowly extend the legs. Find your downward facing dog. Just find your centre, and when you're ready, move on to the next side. So this will be raising your right leg or the opposite leg that you didn't do last time. Dialing down the toes and the knee, really get a lovely stretch through that leg to start with before we bend the knee, drawing it towards the chest. See if you can really hug it in towards the chest. Holding it there for a moment. And then we start to place that front knee behind the same corresponding wrist, and wiggle back your back leg as we take our time to settle in. So it does take a little bit of time to settle into your pigeon pose, keeping that upper body high. So remember, we want that weight of the upper body to be taken by the arms to start with. This is going to allow us to get into our pose before we add the full body weight. And once you start to feel comfortable here, maybe taking a breath just to check in with everything, that's when we can start to reach the body forwards. So that as we're doing that, we're adding a little bit more weight because we're allowing the upper body to sink down. Once again, just checking in with the hips. So draw that right hip back as the back hip gently draws forward, squaring off the hips, moving down through your pose. And if you want to bring yourself fully down onto the mat now, by all means you can come here. Always taking that time to really connect into your breath. Take another full breath before we slowly start to extend the arms, lifting that chest once more. And remembering this option is an option, it's just that, we don't need to do this. So we can bend the back leg if it feels good, just using your front arm as stability and starting to explore how it feels to draw that heel towards the glute. If there's any sensitivities around your knee, this is quite a strong stretch, then just be aware of those, listening all the time to your body, what your body is telling you. Stay for a breath or two if it feels good. When you feel you've had enough, we can release that leg. Spread the hands. We want that good contact with the mat as we tuck the back toes under. Press into the arms. Let's move through that full transition as we raise the back leg. Come into your three-legged dog. Really lovely big move. Exhale. Bring that top leg down to meet the front. And once again, let's bend the knees generously to send that chest down. Really feeling a lovely stretch through the mid part and upper part of your spine. And then come to downward dog just for breath. Look towards your hands, start to ripple through the spine as you find your full plank. Bring your toes together. Squeeze the legs together, push the mat away. So a nice strong stretch here. Keep those heels sending back. Option to lower the knees. Soften your elbows, hug the elbows into the sideways slowly. Lower all the way to the mat and tuck the toes. Let's inhale, come to Bhujangasana, Cobra. Exhale, come down. One more, inhale, Cobra. And exhale, come down. Let's tuck the toes. Lift the belly button, pressing into the hands, pressing into the knee, come to half plank. Then lifting the knees. Send the hips nice and high into downward facing dog. Look towards the hands and start to walk the feet forwards. When you've come to the top of your mat with yourself into your forward fold, hold on to opposite elbow, let the weight of the upper body just gently start to draw the body down into Uttanasana. If we need to bend the knees here, that's absolutely fine. Let's just find a place that we can work. Release the hands, start to extend through the legs as the hands trace up through the tops of your feet. Roll the shoulders back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale once more, come to that extended forward fold. So your Ardha Uttanasana, flat back extension. Send the palms down as you reach your arms back. A small micro bend to the knees as we inhale. Let's start to lift the arms now. Reach those arms up and overhead. Bring the palms together. Slowly, as you exhale, bring them all the way down and make your way into Tadasana. Just take a moment or two here to catch your breath. You can stay where you are. I'm just going to come to center because we're going to start to move through eagle pose. Inhale, open your arms out wide, palms facing forwards. Soften the knees and just bring a gentle bend to your knees and your ankles. Let's start to press into the right foot as we raise the left. Bring it up to the chest, crossing it as high in the thigh as you can. See if you can cross the thigh and possibly the ankle as well. And wherever you are, keeping the arms out nice and wide for a moment, start to draw the knees towards the center line. Now let's bring those arms in as well. So it'll be the right arm on top of the left, crossing at the elbows. If we can cross at the wrists as well, all well and good. Otherwise, holding on to opposite shoulder. Draw your elbows in line with your knees. Lift the palms, tuck your chin slightly under, and find your eagle pose. Garudasana. Just breathing nice and easily. Finding stability here. One more breath. We're going to release the arms first. So with ease, can we gently release those arms nice and wide? Pressing into your standing leg. Can you release that left leg? And slowly, as you bring your left leg down, bring your palms to center, returning to Tadasana seamlessly. So should we try that on the other side? Take a breath or two. You can pause here. Make sure you're ready. Inhale, take the arms nice and wide. So this is going to really help your stability. Soften your knees and soften your ankles. Soften your jaw and your fingers. Start to raise your right leg or your other leg, whichever leg you didn't do. And squeezing the thighs already, cross them as high as you can and start to sink down. That's going to give you more opportunity to cross at the ankles if possible. So drawing those knees to the centre line, this time it's the left arm over the right. Crossing at the elbows, maybe at the wrists as well. Draw ankles, knees, elbows and wrists all in line with each other. Lifting the fingers and dropping the chin, finding your breath. Don't worry if you wobble. That's all okay. When you're ready, take another breath before we very slowly releasing the arms. Pressing into that standing leg. Reach. And as we take that raised leg down to the mat, bring the hands together, pressing the palms. Just let your chin drop. Take a breath here. Good, and exhale. Inhale, arms up and overhead. Reaching the palms up, come onto your tiptoes. Now, while you stay on your tiptoes, send your arms out wide. So this time we've got our palms facing down. I'm going to step back so I'm going to be out of your screen. So send the palms out, the arms out nice and wide. Stay on your tiptoes if you can. Now we're going to come into a diver's position. So send your hips slightly back and your chest forwards and let your eye gaze follow. So the tip is to try and counterbalance the body coming forwards with a lovely long spine with your arms. So you can use your arms going backwards and let that eye gaze follow. So let the eye gaze go all the way down as you come into your long forward fold on the tips of the toes if you can. And then release the arms, release the heels, come into forward fold for a moment. And then take your hands, your palms to the back of your shins, sliding them down the back of the legs. Come to a flat back as much as you can. So it might be that your arms are slightly higher. And then keeping contact with the backs of the legs. Start to just press into your calves slightly and draw the chest deeper into your Uttanasana. So we can do that a couple of times. Inhale, flat back, keeping the contact with the legs and the hands. Exhale, as we gently pressing, I'm just very gently pressing into my calves to draw the elbows in, keeping it nice and tight. Maybe encouraging that chest a little bit closer. Find your breath, find your rhythm. Good, now let's soften the knees. Place the hands each side of the feet. Step the left and the right leg back. So you're in your full plank. Pressing the hands away. Come onto the toes and zip the legs together. And we're all going to do a full plank this time by bringing the elbows down, hugging the elbows in very slowly. Your option to go to Chaturanga or to lower all the way to the mat. Untucking the toes. Inhale, come to Cobra. Exhale, come down. Let's do another cobra. Inhale, Bhujangasana. And exhale, come down. Tuck the toes, press into the hands, press into the knees, lift that belly button, come to half plank, lift the knees, bring the hips high and find your way into downward facing dog. Sinking the hips back, really press through the arms so that you're finding a lovely stretch through the shoulders here. Look towards the hands, a little bit of a fancy move here. Bend the knees generously. We're going to hop the feet forwards and then start to sink down onto the mat. So find yourself in your middle of your mat, reaching your arms forwards. We're going to work through our boat pose, Navasana. So start to reach the body back while you extend through the spine, lifting one, either alternating. If you know you're working through toe tapping, you can work here. If you're happy to balance and take both feet off the mat, reach those arms, either gently just holding behind the knees or reaching them forwards. Find your breath, extend through the spine, drop your shoulders so they're not reaching and curving the spine, so drop your shoulders away from the ears. Maybe you're working to start extending the legs. Start by raising the feet, and by all means place your hands underneath your calves. This can just help you to get into the pose. Maybe you can start to slide your hands down and hold onto the ankles. So wherever you're working to Navasana, releasing those hands just for a moment just gives you an opportunity to try and see where you're at. Another full breath wherever you are. Let's let the feet come down. Everybody holding onto the backs of the knees. Slowly finding the curve of our spine as we allow ourselves to come onto the mat fully. Either extending both legs or bringing the feet wide, allowing the knees to fall in towards each other. Let's find our Shavasana. Take a breath in through the nose, and as you exhale, just let it wash over the body. Maybe sighing out on your next breath. Inhale. Good. Let everything settle. Let your chin feel soft, your fingers, your toes, the backs of your knees, the curve of your spine. Just connect back into your breath, enjoying the next few moments on your mat before you prepare yourself to move on to the rest of your day. Making sure that you take the time that you need, and when you choose to move out from your relaxation, to do so mindfully and slowly. Just working to slowly make your way back up in your own time. Back to your seated pose, where we can take a breath in together, just gathering in all that wonderful good energy we've been creating, reaching those arms up and overhead, and slowly exhaling through the center line. Back to Anjali Mudra, dropping the chin and thanking ourselves for carving out this small amount of time today. Namaste.